34K.
Mm-hmm.
You recognize who that is?
Yeah, that's Phil.
Okay.
Oh, that's his body.
And 34A.
Yeah, that's the entry wound.
Okay. And that's a picture of Fallant with the bullet hole in his head?
Yes, it is.
And that's the bullet hole that you described to the jury as being in his temple on the left side?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? What it do? Hey, look, let's get this straight. I'm going to use T.I. as an example because it's important that you understand what's going on. I see a lot of people that claim to understand the street culture and the quote-unquote code. Now, this is not a stop snitching video. This is not an anti-rap video. This is a legal analyzation video. Now, a couple of my homies had a debate, and they brought me into the debate. They say, yo, is T.I. hot? I thought T.I. told on the dead. I ain't got nothing to do with what he said on the internet about putting something on his cousin. That's another topic. But some other people said that, yo, T.I. is not hot. He got on the stand on the case that you're talking about, which I'm about to discuss, and he didn't identify anyone. Let me explain something to you. In any criminal case, specifically a case of violence, a murder, a shooting, something like that, there's what you call direct evidence. Direct evidence may come from a witness that does this. You did this. Then there's what's called circumstantial evidence. Other evidence that doesn't not exactly directly put you there, but that evidence with some other form of evidence, which is called corroboration. Direct evidence corroborates circumstantial evidence. T.I. did never say this person, I believe his name is Hosea Thompson or Hosea Thomas. He never pointed at him and said he did the shooting. But what T.I. did, Clifford Harris, what he did was he explained that in Cincinnati, they were at a club. In Cincinnati, young Jock was there. This is information he's given, and he's testifying for the government, for the state of Ohio. He testified for them. He did not testify for the defense. He said something about throwing money. He identified the Sprinter they was in. He identified the car that was chasing them, that the shooters were in. He identified what side of the vehicle the shooter shot in and killed this man Phil. He then had to talk to a police officer who had to take his statement. That's hot. He had to give that statement to the DA's office in Ohio, Cincinnati, wherever they charged the person that the person got found guilty of murder. And then after they did that, they had to select T.I. as one of their witnesses to come and explain this. When he got on the stand, he explained everything, and I'm going to show it to you for all that don't understand. Not only did he do that, as I had to tell my man that asked me about the matter, how does that make him hot? I said, bro, I'm not going to explain to you how I make him hot. I just told you who he testified for. He's a government witness, bona fide.
One can be seated. Since we have a full courtroom this morning, I want to repeat and reiterate what the deputies have told the audience today. No outbursts will be tolerated. No showing of emotion from the gallery will be tolerated. No noises, coughing, and gasping. Any type of talking. You've already been told to turn your cell phones off. Not only can you be put out of the courtroom, but if you cause a big disturbance, you can be held in contempt of court and be locked up for each contempt for up to 30 days in jail starting today. So, and as I said before, the audience has been really good, but I'd just like to give a fair warning of what will happen if you're not good. Did the jury have any problems last night? Is everybody fine? All right, and the next witness for the state is? Judge, it will be Clifford Harris, and I think he's on his way from the second floor right now. All right, you can come right here to the witness stand. Clifford Harris, having been first duly sworn, was examined and testified as follows. Can you please tell everybody your name, your first and last name? Clifford Harris. And what's your occupation, Mr. Harris? Entertainer, entrepreneur. And do you have a nickname at all? T.I. And do you also go by T.I.? I do. And if you can let the jury, in your own words, Mr. Harris, know some of the current things you have going on in the entertainment or entrepreneurial area. Music, movie, clothing line. Okay. Construction company, nightclub. Do you have any songs that are currently hit songs? One or two. What are the names of those songs? Whatever You Like, Live Your Life, Swagger Like Us. And did you do a song with Rihanna as well? Yeah, Live Your Life. And you've performed at different award shows, is that correct? I do. Would it be fair to say also, Mr. Harris, that you have a prior felony conviction, is that correct? That would be a fair assumption. And you currently are awaiting sentence for another felony? Yes. And would that be a weapon charge? Yeah, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. And you have an attorney on that, and you're awaiting sentencing in the federal system, is that correct? Correct. I'm going to go back to your spring of 2006 tour. Okay. And could you tell us about how that was set up and who was involved in it? How it was set up, I don't know the promoter that set it up, but who was involved? Me, Young Jock, and the performers. Our usual team around us, road managers, DJs, we had the same team that works around us all the time. Would it be like a normal tour of an entertainment group that you go from city to city and perform in different cities, move on to the next city and so forth? Well, of course, it would depend on what you consider normal, but for me it's normal. Okay, and was there a black tour van that you all were riding in, or some of you were riding in from city to city? I mean, there was a black van, but I don't know if we were riding. I'm quite sure we weren't riding in that van from city to city. Okay. We were either taking flights or had a bus, and we were probably just riding to get, once we get to a city, we'll use vans to get around to where we need to go. If you could let the jury know, Mr. Harris, to the best of your recollection, who were some of the people, the names of the people that you were involved with in terms of security, road manager, promoters, that type of thing, that were with you back in May of 2006? Security-wise, it was Ron Housley, and he hired a couple of guys. I think one of them was Mason. I know you referred to him as Green. I don't know the other guy's name. The driver, Bruce. Road manager, Clay Evans. My DJ Drama. Hype man, Doug. Let's see. And was Falant Johnson with you also? Absolutely. Big Phil was my assistant and best friend. Could you describe Falant Johnson to the jury, how you first met him, and what his role was with your tour, and basically describe Mr. Johnson? Well, how I met him, Phil's mom and my mom were very close friends. Phil's cousin and my uncles were very close friends. We were born the same year, so we grew up together. What town did you grow up in? Atlanta, Georgia. So you and Phil were like childhood friends? Yeah. It was my oldest living friend. We knew each other since 2 years old at least. And then would he travel with you then when you'd perform? All the time, yes. And what would his role be with your tour? He was my assistant. He basically woke me up in the morning, made sure I had everything I needed, had my clothes packed, and, make sure we get to the airport on time. Basically check everybody in the airport, check everybody in the hotels, just basically make sure we have everything we need. Arrange interviews, arrange photo shoots, just conduct all my personal business, whatever it may be. Make sure everything I need done at the house is taken care of. Make sure all my calls are detailed the way I like them. Make sure all my jewelry is secure, things like that. So he had a role in your tour, but he was also your best friend? He had a role in my life personally as my best friend, a role in my organization personally as my assistant. We just happened to be on tour, so it wasn't like, we was on tour and had him come along to assist us in the tour. He assists me in anything I'm doing, whether I'm doing a movie, whether I'm doing, whatever it was that I was doing, he would be there assisting. We just happened to be on tour at the time. If you could describe him physically, was he tall or small or big? Yeah, he was tall. He was probably he was taller than me, maybe 6'1", about 2. He said he was 230. I know he was 260. Okay, big guy? Yeah. I'm going to direct your attention now, Mr. Harris, to May 2nd and May 3rd of 2006. Okay. Do you recall performing at a concert at Bogart's in Cincinnati? Yeah. Okay, and at a certain point, do you remember going to something at the Club Ritz? Yeah, we had an after party at the Club Ritz. If you could describe to the jury, what is an after party? Well, basically it's where a club wants to basically get you to come to their establishment after a major performance and use your name, your likeness to fill their club up, and they pay you to do it. And is that where you give a performance at all, or no? You just make an appearance? No, just make an appearance. Is that something normal you would do when you're on tour, do a concert and go to an after party? It depends on whether or not we sold that concert. If the concert had poor selling tickets, then you wouldn't want to do an after party because people would go to the after party rather than come buy tickets for the show. But if we sold out the show, then we'll pick up that extra money and go do the after party. And do you recall going to this after party at the Ritz? Yeah. Do you remember how you got to the after party? Yeah, we rode in the black van. Do you recall who was in the black van when you rode to the Ritz? Me, Phil, Doug, Ron. Is that Doug Peterson? Yeah, Ron. Ron Housley? Yeah, Bruce. Bruce is the driver? Bruce is the driver. Clay. Is that Clay Evans? Yes, it is, and a couple of young ladies who shall remain nameless. Okay, if you could describe to the jury in your own words, Mr. Harris, what happened when you got inside the Ritz? We went to our section and basically just sat there for a minute, kicked it. Young Jock went on stage and performed. He asked me to come up there, to support him, so I went up there to support him, stood up there while he performed. Did you say anything to the crowd at all? I might have said, "What's up?" I didn't do no song. I didn't perform or nothing. I might have said, "What's happening?" Threw my hands up, walked back to my section. How big was the crowd that night? I mean, from what I remember vaguely, but it seemed to be pretty packed. Okay, had you ever heard of the term making it rain? Sure. What is making it rain? Throwing money in the air. And was that done that morning at the Ritz to the best of your recollection? Not by me. You see, you make it rain in strip clubs around beautiful women taking their clothes off, not in packed holes in walls. You don't throw money in the air. That's not part of the celebration in that city. And do you recall whether or not you or anybody with you invited any of the local Cincinnati people up in the VIP area with you? I mean, I don't recall, but it's not beyond the realm of possibilities. I mean, whenever we're in a city, we try to, be as cordial and as civil and as respectful to whomever is around that we can, as we can. You know what I'm saying? I don't recall myself inviting anyone personally up, but I can't say that that was not done. Okay, and what is the purpose of a VIP area, if you can relate that to the jury, Mr. Harris? The VIP, to separate the primary artist, basically, to separate the person who was paid to be there from the people who paid to come there. And well, that's the purpose of the VIP area. Also, if you don't have a primary person who is there, then people pay to get in the VIP area just to look special, to feel important. Okay, have you ever heard of Aristocrat Records at all? No, not really. I mean, vaguely after the fact. Would it be fair to say that there's a lot of maybe people or artists or labels that try to get you interested in them? Yeah, that's a fair assumption, yeah. Too many to really remember? Every city might have their own rap community that wants you to listen to them and put them on with you. I mean, if I don't have a reason to remember people, I don't remember them. Okay, how did things... We've heard from other witnesses that there was a huge melee inside of the Ritz. Yeah. Do you recall that? Yeah, there was an altercation. And do you know how that got started? From what I remember, it was somebody who wanted to get in the VIP section who was being disrespectful with security and who was, just kind of being irate and seemed to be getting ornery. So, it caught our attention. And from that point, I think something was done or said and, a fight ensued. It got physical. How would you describe that fight, Mr. Harris? How would I describe it? Yes, as it progressed. Violent. Okay. I mean, I don't know. It consisted of maybe 5 or 6 people at first, and then it consisted of maybe 15, 20, and then it consisted of maybe 30 at one time. What did you do or your team do as everything escalated inside the Ritz? As everything escalated, I mean, we make sure all of us, first of all, we had to get the situation to a point where, everything was resolved and subdued. So after no one was fighting anymore, we was like, okay, now it's time to go. So when we start making our way toward the door, another fight ensued. And at this point, everybody's fighting. You don't know who is where, and you're basically looking around trying to find everybody who was with you so you can leave. Did you get grabbed at all, if you recall? Yeah, I got grabbed by security. That was the problem that I had. I was telling security, let me go, I'm straight. You need to go deal with this. So we had that conversation for a minute. And then when we handled that, and we got into another door and left out the club. When you told the jury a minute ago, Mr. Harris, that you were trying to say, I'm straight, go deal with that. Yes. Can you describe what you mean by that? Well, every time a fight ensues in a club and you have an artist, you have the security that came with the artist. Then you have the security at the club. And the security at the club, for the most part, most times are trying to impress the artists. So they're trying to overly protect the artist instead of dealing with the situation at hand at the club. So I'm telling them, you don't need to worry about me. I'm cool. You need to go resolve this situation. Okay, did you finally leave then? Yeah, we left. Which van did you get into? The black van. Do you recall who got back into the black van, Mr. Harris? The same people who rode with us. Where were you seated in the black van when you left? In the back seat on the bench. And do you recall where everybody else was seated? Volant was right in front of me, if I recall correctly. Would that be a captain's chair? Yes. Would that have been on the driver's side or the passenger side? Driver's side. Okay, and who was driving? Bruce. And how about the passenger front seat? Who was in that seat? Ron. Ron Housley? Yes. And do you recall if Mr. Evans, Clay Evans, was in the vehicle? He was, but I don't remember where. Okay, and were there females in the vehicle as well? Yes. When is the first time you realized something unusual was going on as you left the club? Well, when we were pulling out of the club, I noticed headlights, because it's one line of traffic leaving the club and it's one line of traffic coming into the club. We were in the line of traffic leaving. I noticed headlights, trying to get around, go get into the lane of oncoming traffic, making efforts to pull up on the side of us. So I made Ron aware. And basically, me and Ron was having the same conversation that I just told you. If a fight break out, man, I'm cool. You need to go make sure everybody else is all right so we can leave. Don't just stand here with me and do nothing. So Ron and I were having that discussion, and I also noticed headlights, and I attempted to bring it to Ron's attention. Do you see what's going on around you? Are you looking? And, he said, yeah, I got it. And he kept talking, and before I knew it, shots rang out. Okay, did you see where the shots came from at all? I mean, I knew they came from the left side because that's the side I saw the car trying to pull up to. Okay, and as the shots rang out, what did you do? Took cover. Okay, do you know whether anybody in your vehicle returned fire at all? Yeah, they did. And after that initial shooting incident was over, what happened then? We pulled over to the side of the road, tried to assess the situation. Then I think Bruce pulled out again to get us on the highway, noticed that the tires were flat. And at that point, we're calling everybody's names out to see if everybody's all right. We called Phil's name out. Phil didn't respond. So at that point, everybody trying to get out of the car. We're picking Phil up, trying to get Phil out, and a car came back and opened fire again. When you had stopped on the expressway? Uh-huh. And Phil wasn't saying anything? Yeah. And you went to him? Uh-huh. What did he look like? Lifeless. Is it at that point after that second series of shots rang out? Yeah, yes. Can you describe that for the jury, where those came from? You mean a vehicle, or I don't know, I didn't see. Honestly, I didn't see what vehicle, what shots came from, nothing like that. As I was getting Phil out of the car, I just know, shots rang out again. I believe it was again. I'm sure that it was again on the left side. Okay, what did you all do as the second series of shots rang out? I mean, at this point, we were still trying to maneuver to get Phil out, We didn't really, nobody really took full cover at that point because we were more concerned about him. And if you could describe to the jury, Mr. Harris, then what happened next at the scene? We finally made a way to get Phil out. Another van that was with us pulled up on us. We finally get Phil out of the black van into the other van the other passengers were in. Was that another van that was with your tour? Yes. Do you remember what color that was? It was lighter. It was light. I don't know if it was silver or if it was white. It was light. And what happened with you all in the white van then, or silver van? What happened? We get Phil in there and shots rang out again. Do you know if those shots hit anything? Yeah, they hit the white. The light colored van? The light colored van, yeah. Where did that van go then? When we started, we made our way to go, to go to the hospital, but then I believe the police or the ambulance or whatever pulled us over. Yeah, police pulled us over, and then we told them, we told them the issue, and they called the ambulance. Were you hit at all? No. Were you injured at all by any glass or anything? No. I'm going to show you, if I can, a couple exhibits. States Exhibits 34K. Uh-huh. Do you recognize who that is? How did Falant's family find out about his death? I told them. And who did his family consist of? I told his cousins first. Well, no, I called his mom first. Then I told his cousin. And then when I got to Atlanta, I went to his dad's house. I told his daddy. I told his little girl. I told, like, all his family, everybody. I did. How old was his little girl? His daughter was 4 years old at the time. 5 years old at the time. And how did you tell his daughter that her father was dead? I told her daddy's gone and he's in a better place and he won't be coming back, and I told her how much I loved her. And how did you tell his mom that her son was gone? Well, first I apologized. I apologized because, I felt that, all of those rounds were fired for me, in my opinion. So I apologized to her at first, and then I told her what happened to the best of my knowledge, and, I didn't get to really say much after that. There wasn't much else to say. How did she and his daughter do after you told them the news? Well, surprisingly, his daughter was very strong. His mom, not so much. His mom was hysterical. She was hysterical, distraught. His pops, too. His grandma, his aunts, his cousins, all of them. That's all, Judge. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Teager. Mr. Isley, do you have any questions for Mr. Harris? Yes, I do, Judge. All right. Good morning. How are you doing? Fine. How old are you, Mr. Harris? 28 years old. 28. You would have been 26 in 2006? Yes. When this happened? Now, you talk a little bit about the club arrangements and the setup. Did part of the arrangements include that your advanced people make arrangements for certain liquor for you and the people that travel with you? Well, yes, of course it does. They put whatever we request in our section and have it waiting for us when we get there. And would that be what is known as white liquor usually? It's what we ask for. I mean, me personally, I get everything. I get some white, some dark, some Heinekens. What is Ramy? R-A-M-Y. Remy? Remy. You mean as far as light or dark? Yes. It's dark. It's cognac. Cognac? Yes, Remy Martin, cognac, VSOP. Do you remember if that was something you were drinking that night? No, I don't think so. Okay, do you remember that other patrons at the Club Ritz that night were complaining that there was no liquor left for them? No. And in your discussion about making it rain, do you recall if anybody on the stage, not necessarily with your group, but with Jock's group that was performing, was anybody throwing rain from his stage? Throwing money, excuse me. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't have a recollection. I can't actually describe who was throwing money. I just know I didn't throw no money. All right. I can't say that they didn't, but I don't recall it. I didn't see it. Well, you did mention that an altercation broke out between just a small group at first. Do you know why that broke out? Like, as I said before, the way I remember it, it was someone trying to get in the VIP section whose security was trying to keep out of the VIP section. That person was unhappy about that and became disrespectful and very ornery, and the fight ensued from there. Do you remember that as the fight ensued and became larger and larger group fighting, that it became more of a fight by the patrons against your group? I don't know. I mean, all of them are patrons. Even the guy who was at the VIP, he was a patron. So it was a fight against us and the patrons from the get-go. From the beginning? Yeah, he was a patron. Okay, and evidently at some point, or let me ask you, at some point in the altercation while you were in the VIP area, did you climb over the railing with one of your people, like Mr. Evans, Clay Evans, to try and help calm people down? It's possible. And do you recall when you started to make your way out, evidently, you went to the rear? Do you recall how you got out of that club? Yeah, there was an empty room next door. You went around, and did you go all the way back out to the front where you came in? Yeah, we went past the bar. There's an empty room, through the empty room to the front. All the way to the front? Yeah. Some people evidently got out the side door, but not you? Well, maybe that side door led to the empty room. Okay, I mean out of the building by way of the side door? No, as I recall, I think the Ritz is in the middle of a plaza, shopping plaza, is it not? Yes, it is. We were out there for a view earlier. There is no side door that lets you directly out onto the street, so you have to go through a side door to another place and walk out of a front door. There's no way you can go out the side door straight onto the street. Okay, all right, as I recall. And then, as you're leaving in the van, as you got outside, out front, how close were your vans to where you exited? Not far, 5-10 feet, right there. And did you all just kind of dive into those vans? No, we walked in, we got in, made sure everybody who rode with us got in our van, made sure everybody who rode with the other van got in that van. You weren't in a great hurry to get out of there? A great hurry? Yeah, like running. No, not enough of a hurry to leave nobody. Did you see anybody? Actually, the police was pulling out guns and mace and, you know. Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. If you observed any police with any guns drawn or, yeah. Mace? Yeah, guns, stun guns, mace, and, you know, all that, so. How close by were those security guards? Security guards or police? Police, excuse me, deputies. In my plain view, so they had to be 20 feet away from me. Okay, any of those police yelling at anybody? Of course. What were they yelling? I don't know. I mean, whatever police yell out to get order, you know. I don't know what they were yelling. You didn't? I noticed the guns drawn. Okay, all right. And, you know, I noticed them, you know, become upset more than I remember what they were yelling. Okay, and when you got into the vans and then you exited, you indicated you came out onto the main street there, and you were evidently all the way in the back? Sure. And that's where the ladies were, all the way in the back? Were the ladies all the way in the back of the van? No comment. Okay, and then as you traveled on the street, you noticed a vehicle coming up behind because of the headlights? Yeah. And you sensed that something might be going to happen? Yep. What would make you sense that? Well, we were all filed up in a single file line, one car behind the other. There was only one more lane of traffic, which was oncoming traffic. If I look in the back window and I see some headlights fall behind us going in this lane of oncoming traffic, trying to speed up, not being able to, having to get back in the line, doing that. Oh, I see. That caught my attention. It cautioned me. And when that vehicle, did you see that vehicle ever pull up even with the van? I cannot say that this is the same vehicle that pulled up on the side of us. I can only assume. I can't say that the same vehicle that was in and out of traffic was the same vehicle that pulled up on the side of us. Do you know from your perspective in the van, if a vehicle had pulled up alongside of your black van, would that vehicle have been in the same direction of traffic as you? Yes, it was in the same direction of traffic as me. Okay, they wouldn't have been across the center line? No, the thing was, while we were trying to exit the club, it was one lane of traffic going out, one lane of traffic going in, as we were trying to exit the club. That's when I saw the car swerve. Once we made a right onto the main street, it was two lanes of the same traffic. Okay, so at that point, that vehicle, if it is the same vehicle, had an opportunity to get on the side of us. Okay, now when the shooting starts, and at some point your tires, I guess, are shot out on the black van? Yes. Do you recall that? Did you stop right then? Did the van stop, or did you keep going? It pulled over. It pulled over? It pulled over for a second and then pulled off again. And kept rolling? Yes. And then it rolled evidently down the ramp and onto the interstate? Okay. Do you recall that, or maybe you don't? On the interstate, I don't know if it was down a ramp, up a ramp. All right, and then you described how you were trying to move Mr. Johnson from the black van into the white van along with some others. And during that exchange, there was some additional shots. After you took off in the white van and got going, there was some additional shots? Excuse me? After you had made the exchange of the people from the black van, yes, to the white van, yes, some shots rang out again? Yes. And then the white van pulled away with you and Mr. Johnson in it? Yes. And a couple of other wounded people? Yes. Do you recall who else was wounded? Ron, Bruce, a young lady, and Phil. All right. And as the white van then proceeded down the highway, you took on shots again? The white van got shot? No, the white van only got shot at once. Once, but it took out the back window of the white van? Yes. Okay, and when the police came upon the white van and stopped the white van, you all got out to talk to the police? Well, they asked everybody to get out, yeah. Did some people crawl out of the back window to get out of that van? I don't recall. How did you get out? I got out through the side door. Okay, have you been in a situation like this before with a shootout? Yeah. At a concert tour? Oh, no, not a concert. Not a concert. I was before I started doing concerts. Before you started doing concerts? Yeah. What type of a shootout would you have been in before a concert? What type? Yeah. The type where two sides of people are shooting at each other? Okay, all right. You mentioned you did have a prior felony as well as this most recent charge. What is your prior felony? Possession of crack cocaine with intent to distribute. Okay, and your current charge you're awaiting sentencing on? Yes. And what offense is that? Possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Okay, what type of firearm? Machine guns. Machine guns? Yes. And part of your agreement on that plea is that you're going to go to prison? Yes. And in that tune, and I'm probably going to mess this up, but one of your tunes you mentioned, live your life however you want to, live your life? No, it's live your life. I don't know about the however you want to part. Okay, how does it go? What's the lyric? You help me. What is the lyric? Which one? Live your life. What's next? I know you're chasing that paper, but live your life. No time for haters. Just live your life. No telling where it will take you. Just live your life. Okay, do you go through different subjects with that, like women, jobs, and money? Live your life? Yeah, I'm sure I probably do. Forgive me for being amused. Okay, well, forgive me. I don't know all the words. Okay. If I can just have a minute, Your Honor. Mr. Harris, with respect to the current felony charge which you described as a machine gun possession? Uh-huh. I said uh-huh. Okay, did that also include silencers? Yes, it did. For pistols and things? Yes, it did. Okay, thank you. Anything else from the prosecution? No, Your Honor, thank you.
He never had to identify the defendant. The police accused the defendant of doing the shooting out of what car? The car that T.I. said chased them from the club. Now, if you were on trial for a murder, if you were on trial for any type of shooting, violent offense, and T.I. saw you do it, right? And he didn't say that I saw him do it, but he said the person that did it had on a black shirt, and lo and behold, you had on a black shirt. The person who did it wore Versace glasses, and I got on Versace glasses. Though the person who did it, I don't know if it was Eon, but he had on a polo hat, right? I got on a polo hat. Do he really got to say that Eon did it, or did everything else that he says Eon did it? See, what you got to understand is that there are only two sides in a courtroom. It's just like the AFC and the NFC in an all-star game. When they walk into the courtroom, you have the government over here, you have the defense over here. If you testify for the defense, you are in support of the defense. You are helping the defendant if what you are saying is true and accurate on the stand to the jury. If you come in there and the state call you as a witness, bro, you out of pocket. T.I. gonna always be out of pocket. So I didn't want to make this video to take a shot at Thug, but since Thug name came up in this matter, then I'm gonna go ahead and say it now. I had big salutes for Thug, and I still do. He stood tall on his case and whatever. But, people was asking me, what you think he going to do with Gunna? That's his own business. Now, I seen some tweets or some things, and I don't know if they truly coming from him, but he kind of distanced himself from Gunna. But you can't distance yourself from Gunna and just say that you upset with Gunna because of your personal case and not distance yourself from T.I. because T.I. is a bona fide government witness to help convict a person of manslaughter, murder. Watch who you be calling, man, stand-up guys. And if you don't understand the code, please don't speak on the code, bro. You don't go to court and testify for the government unless you want to be a government witness. One other thing before I go. A lot of people remember T.I. getting caught with all them guns, machine guns, and silencers. Those are very serious crimes. A lot of people don't know how he didn't go to jail. He didn't get burnt up for a felon in possession. I got homies that have done 36 months, 7 years, 11 years, 19 years on 922G, felon in possession of a firearm. I'm going to show you this as well. They specifically asked T.I. while he was on the stand testifying in a homicide trial in Cincinnati, Ohio. They said, don't you have a federal crime right now for this and this and this and that? For y'all that don't understand how his federal charges could have went away, let me take a guess. I don't have concrete evidence on this, but to get a 5K1 departure, you must help or cooperate with the conviction of someone else. That does not mean federal or just state. That means anywhere, state or federal. So how about this? How about all you hip hop heads and all you law dudes and all you street dudes that missed it? How about T.I. testified in a homicide that resulted in a conviction? And how about the U.S. Attorney's Office in Georgia gave him credit for that homicide testimony? And that's why he didn't get burnt up for the 922G. How about that? And until T.I. stand on that, when T.I. running around here talking about Boosie, like I wouldn't even be on T.I. if T.I. wasn't using street terminology. His defense with Boosie is, yo, I got my paperwork I ain't never told. You did tell for the government, you did tell for the state, and the dude did get time in prison for that murder. Free the real, man. Keep them suckers on my way. You feel me?
You did.
Hey, man, ain't no motherfucker, ain't no cap in it.
No cap in my rap.
You feel what I'm saying?
The right way.
It's time.
The right way, bro.
You feel what I'm saying?
Right way.
Yeah, that way.
Yeah.
And go tell that.